for-profit media industry has existed in our country forever. I think let's set that to the side for a second. I think the main thing is the authoritarian way in which Trump is ruling. So, for example, the Wall Street Journal publishes a letter about Epstein's birthday. What does he do? He sues. And what happens is it paralyzes them from being able to continue to do what the media is intended to do, what the press is intended to do in this country, which is to be the fourth estate. And so they are hampered, in my view, in so many ways because of fear of reprisal. Look what happened to CBS and 60 Minutes. He continues to do this. Think about how much money the president's family has received as a result of these lawsuits for him going after the media. So in many ways, again, it goes back to this idea of consolidating power and keeping the House, the Senate, the courts, all in line with this sort of authoritarian theocratic rule that people continue to ignore, in my view. Like, I don't think people take that seriously at all.
Let me counter that. This suit, because the one you mentioned against the Wall Street Journal.
Well, there was no color, if I want to be honest.
Or Spanish or Portuguese or any other ethnic group that came to this country thought of themselves as American. They understood, yeah, I'm Italian, but I'm American now. I'm British, but I'm from England, not the original ones, but I'm American now. I'm from Germany, but I'm American now. That was always part of the idea of the country. It was a melting pot. It wasn't a salad.
Yeah, melting pot. Let's just be clear.
It allowed it.
Yeah, but the melting pot, this is where it starts to become disingenuous, is because until 1965, from literally, we can look when Americans first colonized us, then to after the Revolutionary War, to the first Congress and the first Immigration Act in 1790, immigration was limited to white people, like, period. And even amongst white people, yeah, we let some Southern Europeans and Eastern Europeans in. They ended up putting a limit on that, I believe, in 1924, so that it preferred Northwestern Europeans as opposed to Southern and Eastern Europeans. But we definitely had a concept of what was at least considered acceptable to become American. And it was, yes, a lot of white people, like my family makes fun of Italians and the Irish. Sorry, on both sides of your family, doctor. Make fun of. That was also very American for us to make fun of other ethnic groups of Europeans, and even look at them as being beneath us and that kind of shit. But at the end of the day, it's just like, do we trust these people to work in our country? Would we, at the end of the day, most likely let our daughter marry one of their men? Yeah, that's how we saw it. But we did not want the demographic changes we saw. And in 1965, when the Hart-Celler Act was signed under Lyndon B. Johnson, I believe it was Robert Kennedy said, it will not affect the demography of America, which was absolute bullshit. We went from being like a 90% white country to now, I mean, it was like 57 point something in 2020. That's if you exclude the MENA population. And, now it's probably below 55. I don't, this is, and yeah, it's causing, you're seeing a reaction now where white people, not only do they notice, hey, they never had to notice their race before, because, hey, everybody else is white. That does not make you special. We're just how does that make me special? Every motherfucker I know is white. But then it's just when we see the demographics change, and then we see all of the political rhetoric surrounding it, where race and ethnicity is being weaponized. We're being told that we not only should we not be proud of our heritage, but we don't actually have a heritage. We're nobody. Tell me if this sounds familiar, Michaela.
Yeah, not as white people. Not under the term.
No, but hold on. But what is a Palestinian? What is a Palestinian? You guys didn't exist. Palestinian, what is that? That's a nothing.
I agree.
Okay, but you get the weaponization against your fucking identity. You told that you're not a fucking people, that your history is irrelevant, that you're a bunch of fucking nobodies, and that you should just embrace the demographic change. That is, and which is absolutely fucking insulting. And so, yes, we are, unfortunately, just like how all of the people in the Arab region, which, you know, North Africa, the Levant, the Saudi, the Arabian Peninsula, you guys are also a fucking ethnic group that is far more like each other than different.
I
Okay.
understand what
How
you're
much
saying,
more
but
time?
see, Arabs are, you know, you would say they're not just. They don't see themselves as a race. They see themselves like Italians see themselves. So these are people, you can't really become part of them, you know, in a way. Like, they have their own history, they value lineages, they value being Italian or Arab. In America, whiteness dissolves this. So
They're
the
so
one who used to be,
stupid.
well, the one who used to hold to Italian heritage or Scottish or whatever European heritage is now abandoning that or ignoring that or no longer putting effort in that. Why? Because they want
Yeah,
to
but it was
ignore the
abandoning for a
concept
reason.
of white.
Whiteness is
No,
for a
because
reason.
they wanted to. They wanted to end it because they were embracing a new heritage. Let's just wake up.
Monica!
Hey, Monica, can you mute? They're abandoning it because they were abandoning it not just for the hell of it. They were abandoning it for a nationality, a new nationality called Americanism. So when you get up here like some kind of third-rate gay studies teacher from Stanford, you're incorrect. They abandoned it because of the very reason that you said didn't exist. They abandoned it because of a nationalist draw. They wanted to become American, a nation of Americans. And you're absolutely right in the fact that all of those people abandoned their heritages, abandoned their language, and have very little left to do with their original countries. But some people would call it, they abandoned it for whiteness. You know, some people who want to destroy the country and have really strange thoughts on power structures, whatever, like maybe yourself. But what they were really doing was abandoning it for a national heritage. So nationalism is the furthest thing from a new phenomenon. Nationalism has been the goal of Europeans pretending to be white for 150 years plus. So you're absolutely incorrect on that.
And I'll add a couple of seconds of thought too, including the fact that this beating over the head of us with whiteness and upholding whiteness and this white supremacy and it's maintaining white ethno-nationalism is bullshit. It's people assimilating into American culture. We don't tell them to give up their traditions. We honor people's religions and traditions as long as they fit into the patchwork quilt that is our country. And also, Mikhail, your earlier statements.
Mr. Madison, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things that I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess, Mikhail, I would say this, like, and this is what I think a lot of people that are not European don't understand, is that we look at Europeans for the most part as, and of course it was not necessarily the case when new arrivals came here, but we looked at each other, we at least looked at each other as being more similar than the rest of the world. And then we do look at other European ethnic groups as being, like, I guess you could say, one of us. They're our brothers and sisters.
I understand what the white project is. I get this notion of, I'm not saying, you know, this notion of building a nation is a bad thing. I'm just saying, even if you want to build a nation, you got to understand what the state is and what were the foundations, or what is the relationship between the state that was created by these early migrants, who are usually considered of the same race. And then, and what were they trying to build? And they were trying to build a systematic state, something that is systematic, that doesn't rely on human fallibility, like a monarch. So they wanted to create like an automated, way authority. That's what they wanted to do, and they enforced laws and checks and balances, and they made this very systematic, man. And sure, like, this is the ideal, and those people, they had migrants come in who weren't necessarily of their own race. And yes, there was tension. And that kind of tension, the state was never able to eliminate it. So there's always this new arrival coming, and their integration faces pushback until a new migrant class arrives. And this is what's been going on in America.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, but
What's wrong with that is
Let Mike make an answer.
What's wrong with that is that the new migrant that's arriving cannot blend in whiteness. So your project of building a nation based on whiteness, they can't be incorporated in that.
They're not supposed to.
So now this is going to lead, and
It takes time.
But if you end up taking over, and you bring this nation, the throne of our state, of this systematic state, and this is what you're gonna value.
Who is you? We don't know what you're talking about. Who is you? If you take over.
I'm speaking in general as the left, but.
Take it easy. I know
left.
Mikhail. He has good faith conversations. So
Yeah, I just want to know what he's talking about. I'm trying to listen.
So the left in general is very diverse. And this diverse, I'm not saying there aren't white people or even white passing people. But I'm saying this is pretty diverse, and where a strong portion of it, or a strong demographic within it, it can't be incorporated in whiteness. And now, so they're gonna see, they're gonna advocate for avenues and for, ways that don't make this a glass ceiling for them. Because if you end up taking over, and then ideal is going to be whiteness, and they're just never going to be white. For them, they're always going to have a disadvantage. So why would they support your project?
They are going to be white, right? Every one of those groups that you named was the national nigger for a certain period of their entrance into the United States in mass. Every single one of those groups. And so it's okay to not be able to blend in right away. It takes work to become part of something great. That's what us fake Europeans pretending to be white did. And why should, I don't know, whoever you're talking about, black people, Mexicans, anybody from south of the border, why should they just walk in and have it all to themselves right away with no effort and no work? They'll treat it poorly. We know when people are given things with no work that they treat it poorly. It's okay to be that America needs a eternal lower class. The problem is that eternal lower class doesn't have to be the same group of people every single time. It goes in stages. It doesn't have to be black people. It doesn't even have to be Mexicans. We could get Chinese pretty soon that could come in here, and they could be the lower class. It could be any group of people that's the next lower class, but they have to pay their dues, and there's nothing inherently evil or wrong about that, just like there's nothing evil or wrong about a system that works very well, relatively.
I mean, I would say this, I don't mean this, I know that, obviously you're of a different faith, but would I welcome in, give relatively easy access to the United States, and this is where people are gonna be like, oh, you're a sellout, you're a fake white nationalist, which is fine. I don't have a problem with Middle Eastern Christians getting citizenship super easily here in the United States, because they're first of all, they're not going to have a mass migration to the United States because they're small in number. And they generally just they're definitely different, first, even second generation, but, they don't they don't
trying to
cause
see
ripples.
the quantum leap. That's what you're trying to do right now. You're trying to see how, this policy is going to affect the far future. The problem is you're looking 1-2 generations, and you're saying, yeah, I have a strong probability in my mind that, this is what the imminent future is going to look like. Now you're talking about 2 generations.
But even in
right?
one
It's not a big
generation,
deal.
what problem do
We're talking about a nation. When you see the problem again, Americans, individualism. The problem again, every policy that you're considering on a statewide kind of level, you need to look not just 2 generations. You need to look 100 years, and you need to look 500 years, and what would this policy? Now all your probabilities have fallen because you can't see that far into the condition of the state. So at this point, you're going to have to assume scenarios. And is it plausible now? If I adopt this policy, you need to ask yourself, is it plausible? Not probable. If it's plausible, because this is the far future, you don't know the conditions. So it's all going to enter into plausibility now. So you're going to ask yourself, is it plausible that if I maintain this policy, that I can still maintain whiteness? And what I'm talking about is that anybody who's advocating for the white race and associating this with America and the future vision needs to ask themselves, do I, by adopting this principle, saying that America must be white at all costs?
No,
at least white past.
No, I don't. I think even people like me, first of all, with white dropping birth rate, I do think that what a lot of white nationalists don't understand is that the first thing they'll bitch about is like, oh, everything's measured in GDP. I don't give a fuck about GDP. What is it? We can't even afford homes now, which is, a lot of this rhetoric is true. However, in order to remain the dominant superpower that's more innovative than other countries, you really do have to have a large percentage or a good percentage of your population that is talented and very well educated and capable, and so that you're going to have.
That's what you're. So social.
No, the opposite. Go ahead, David.
So you're going to, at the end of the day, as much as I cringe thinking about bringing in some high IQ, robot from India or China, I do realize, to a degree, you're gonna have to bring some of these people in.
That's why we suffer it, because we do have to bring them in. We suffer it because there's a benefit.
Yes, but I would say even Mexicans, the thing with them, I grew up in Phoenix.
Of birthright?
Well, because it's not indefinite, and this will be the most controversial piece. We've prolonged the lives of sub-Saharan Africans. They were living on average into their 30s, but then we started bringing in food aid, bringing in medicine that they did not create, HIV drugs, which they're only taking, they're not the most responsible people, so they don't really take it responsibly and regularly.